I've gotta tell you something. I've been kind of excited to get to Ginga no Sannin. It's a little-known, quirky game with a fascinating story behind it, high production values, and enough quirks that people still argue about whether it's a good game. I actually started the process of translating it, and then quit after 2 days when I realized how much work it would be. Ginga no Sannin means Galactic Trio, but that's not the original title of this game. Originally, it was Earthfighter Reiza, a title that's slightly better known than Ginga no Sannin. That game was an RPG on Japanese computers by Enix. Enix hired Pax Softnica to create a port of it to the Famicom, but it was a troubled development cycle, taking 2 years from conception to release. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Famicom games have changed a lot in 2 years. Ginga no Sannin was designed for a small cart and a weaker memory mapper. Enix also made many design changes to the game. When they were done, Enix wasn't happy with the result. The rumor is they didn't want to publish it themselves and associate their known brand with something this bad. But Nintendo was willing to take it up and sell it under a completely different name. Nintendo reworked the graphics and packaging a bit. They hired Go Nagai, creator of Devilman, to do the character design. And I think you can kind of tell that the creator of Cutie Honey made that box art. One game magazine at the time called it vulgar, which honestly kind of makes me want to get a box copy. Although it didn't turn out to be one of the 3 big games of the holiday 1987 season, Ginga no Sannin still sold pretty well. Over 200,000 copies, which is pretty respectable now that we're out of the era of anything that they put out will sell 500,000 copies. The story of Ginga no Sannin is that humanity has spread out across the solar system and is living in peace, until outside aliens attack. Their surprise attack kills most of the population, destroys Jupiter, and sends the rest of humanity scurrying into shelters below the surface. You're the pilot of a mech suit, which is the only weapon capable of taking out the invading aliens. And at the start of the game, you get your partner, Blue, meet the AI that controls your suit's systems, Mio, and in your very first mission, rescue someone from a capsule on the moon, Rimi. Rimi has psychic abilities, a new addition in the Famicom version, and she remains behind on Earth, helping you out with those. The gameplay structure of Ginga no Sannin is a little bit confusing. The first thing you do is bring up the map and select a destination. Mio will tell you how far away it is. At that point, the menu changes, and the first option is jump. Selecting it will perform a space jump, and the distance to the target is how many space jumps you have to perform to get there. So you could think of it like wandering the overworld of an RPG map. In the solar system, you'll see planets, space stations, and alien battleships. Taking out the battleships is your goal, of course, but you don't want to head there until you feel that you're ready. The space stations are where you can get repaired and buy additional supplies. In this game, you don't use gold as the currency, it's uranium. Because really, you want money to be a little bit warm to the touch. Planets are places that you'll wind up on specific quests, and when you reach them, you descend in your mech suit. They'll have a surface that you can walk around on, people you can talk to, and complexes that you can navigate. You start at the Earth, and the moon really has to be your first target. Not only do you get Rimi there, you get a device that increases the range of your jump. The second option on the menu is that range. Jumping 1 or 2 units is fine. Jumping more than that damages your suit. Every increase in range requires that you find a booster. The rest of the menu options are that you could get Rimi's help with psychic abilities. You could view the status of your character in blue. You could check out the map to see how far away you are from your destination, or pick out a new one. Or you could use some items that you found. When you jump, you might encounter the enemy. There's a pretty wide variety of hostile aliens out there. At the start, you're given the choice to fight, check your status, run away, or use an item. If you choose to attack, you're given the option of firing your main gun, or launching a barrage of missiles. the main gun is actually a pretty good weapon. You hit all of the enemies that you're facing, it could be up to 9 at once, and until you get away from Earth a bit, it's more than capable of taking out anything you're going to find. Missiles do a lot more damage, but you can only carry 10 of them, and they don't get refilled. You have to either find a couple after the battle, and they are very rare drops, or you have to get them refilled at a space station, and they are not cheap. But just because they're hard to replenish doesn't mean that you shouldn't use them. You will run into the occasional foe that's much stronger, and firing a missile barrage when you encounter them can help you level up really quickly. A final option can appear after you recovered Remy. You can use her psychic powers in these fights. She has her own finite pool of ESP points, but those are also recovered when you stop to rest at a station. Her first ability is a medium damage attack that hits all enemies, basically about the damage of firing one missile. As enemies fight back, they can also use some ESP powers. The worst of them is summoning additional help. It isn't that bad, since usually you can take out these enemies in 1 or 2 hits, but for the tougher ones, that list can fill up awfully fast. One weird quirk about fighting, if you miss, Blue makes fun of you for it. So let's say you are getting overwhelmed. You could always run from battle, but there's 2 different run options. The first one is to just jet away. The second one is to use your jump engines. Using the jump engines has a better chance of success, but doing it in combat makes you take damage. I never successfully ran away using the standard flight, so I'd recommend always jumping. If you or Blue get defeated, then the fight is lost, and you revive back at Earth with half your uranium. Combat against the alien battleships is a little bit different. I'd recommend not going against them until you've upgraded your weaponry, which you can do just by buying it at the correct space station. Then when you reach the alien battleship, it starts firing at you from long range with heavy cannons. You have to choose to close in on it multiple times before you can actually start attacking. Basically, they get several free rounds of combat with high damage weapons, while the battleship slowly reveals itself as you close in on it. Once you're at the battleship, it just takes a lot of damage. There's no real tactics to it. Ginga no Sannin has a lot of personality, but there are some significant flaws. It takes a long time to get to any place in the solar system. You also have to grind a lot, which isn't unexpected for an RPG in 1987. It took me about an hour to accumulate all the uranium I needed to buy the first weapon upgrade, and then go take out that first battleship. The battleship's also a gatekeeper on your levels. You have a maximum level of 7 until you take out at least 1. And the planetary segments are not good. They look very bland, and you just slowly drift around these mazes. That said, Ginga no Sannin is a different and creative take on the RPG. I don't know if I'd play it to the end, but I definitely am going to retain the password I got at the space station. Perhaps someday I'll have enough time to go back and pick this one up again.